Tableau dashboard season. We're going to go through a little tutorial of the NFL dashboard. We'll do some just quick stuff first, just for people that don't want to spend a lot of time here, and then we'll maybe get a little bit deeper into a few things. But just to get you started, let's start. We've got week one. We got it mostly filled out. Some of the snaps and routes data comes in late, but we'll go back to the Thursday game just to show this. We use the Cowboys as an example. Quickly through each tab, right? So this team summary one gets you a lot of the way there. Uh, this is stuff you're going to see repeated on the other tabs, but this is where I kind of live, at least where I go to first. So I'm looking for something. So yeah, your team summary up here. This is the kind of stuff you have. We're looking for more advanced stats, right? Like nobody needs me to. You don't need to pay me to open a Tableau dashboard to open up and see that Javonte Williams has 2 touchdowns or whatever. So we'll focus on maybe some of the stuff that you can't get as easily elsewhere. The plus thing here, I don't have anything crazy unique or interesting yet, or at least I don't have anything on my own. Like with baseball, I got a bunch of stuff that I kind of came up with on my own that I think is helpful, but that's not really the case here. But I'm good at aggregating and giving you data that you can use and putting it all in one place. So team summary up here, you've got your pass rates, your rush rates, some more advanced stuff here. Seconds per play, that's how many times on average, how many seconds the come off the play clock before they snap the ball. And pass rate over expectation, this is a big one. This will tell you what kind of strategy the team has overall. So 3% over expectation means Dallas was 3 points above what you would expect from the game environment. So that adjusts for your game script, right? Just think if you're down 20-0 in the third quarter, you're probably going to throw the ball. So you shouldn't be surprised, and you should adjust the number down for what kind of situation it was in. And the data set we have lets us do that. So we'll see that on the next tab as well. And you can see teams compared together. But quickly down here, you read down here, you get the quarterback stats. Nothing super special there. Average EPA, that's estimated points added per play. That's a good measure of overall performance. Not much for fantasy, but yards per attempt, I like that one a lot. And then your basic stats there. Down here, you have your skill player data. This is running backs and wide receivers, targets, rush attempts, et cetera, et cetera. Just kind of how the skill players were used. Over here, let's go to the bottom right. This is more kind of advanced snaps and route stuff. So this is your routes, routes run, target per route run, etc. Really good stuff for predicting the future. Like this target per route run and yards per route run, those are really good stats for getting an idea of who will do well in the future. Obviously, higher the better target per route run. So the secret combo, no, not secret, but the magic formula you're looking for, right, would be a guy running a lot of routes and getting a target on a lot of them. So CeeDee Lamb probably tops the chart this week, but you can see that right there. He played 91% of the snaps. He got 39% of the targets. That's target share there. Probably should rename that. Ran a almost team high number of routes and targeted on 42% of them, a ridiculous number. This table here will fill in with further weeks as we go by. I mean, if we go to last year's version, you can see you got weeks 1 to the whole way through. And what you'll see there is it's overall. Right now, there's no filter on it. There's no teams. But since we're looking at, we're on the 2024 one, so let's go here. If you just wanted to see the trend here, that's why I made this. You can type in a player there. That will filter this table and this one to that player you selected, and you can see the progression of it. So Lamb last year, 10, 7, 8, 8, 9, 14, et cetera, in targets and whatnot. So that's a good way just to see kind of the trend throughout the season. But let's go back to this year's. So that's that. That's the explanation, I think, on the team summary one. Team offense, just a table of data for each offense. Plays run, pass per game, runs per game. Here's that pass rate over expectation and your pace stuff, seconds per play. So lower number here would mean they're playing faster because they're taking fewer seconds off the clock before they snap the ball. Yards per play, yards per pass attempt, yards per rush. The ones I'm really looking for here, pass rate over expectation. So here's a good example and where this come from. So the Chargers actually threw it 69% of their plays. The expected was 57% because they were ahead for a good portion of that game. So this tells you they were 12 points over expectation. So you'll see that the expected pass, this is what you'll see. Like, okay, the Saints, they played the game in such a way that they were trailing a lot. They were down a lot, and they were in a lot of situations where you'd expect a pass because they needed to score quickly, 76%. And yet they only threw it 70% of the time, 6% under expectation. So that gives you an idea of what teams are wanting to do, whether it be run or pass. Team defense, this is just kind of the same table, except it flips it on the defense. So what you're seeing here is this is going to take 4, 5, 6 weeks to really be able to learn from. One game on your defense isn't going to help. You're not going to learn too much from that, but the yards per play allowed here. So this is kind of the one I go to. The Bills last night against the Ravens allowed 8.5 yards per play, really high. But that's the Ravens, you kind of expect things like that. So you can't take all this too seriously until we're pretty deep into the season. Yards per pass attempt allowed, yards per rush allowed, et cetera, et cetera. Just a good way to get a feel later on in the season of what defenses are good at what. Plays by week, this is really ugly right now. It's just how many plays each team has run throughout the week. I don't hardly ever look at that, but it's there. Quarterback data, not really going to repeat myself here, just kind of those quarterback numbers, but in a table where you can actually sort and compare different players together, see league leaders. The other really nice thing here is obviously you can go to any NFL website and find these numbers, but what you can do here is adjust for situation. So you can look at, I don't know, let's see when the targeted wide receiver was Drake London. He had 15 targets, so we'll use him. So you could kind of see, you could filter to, let's filter to Michael Penix, and then you can see overall, okay, he was 64% completion percentage. He was 7.1 yards per attempt. But then you can go here and say, okay, well, what was going on when he was targeting Drake London? And again, one game, you're not going to learn a lot from this, but this is the kind of things you can do. Like, okay, is he having success when he's targeting this guy? Who's he having success when he targets, right? So he was 7 out of 8 to Kyle Pitts. And, Bijan Robinson, he's probably really high too, 6 for 7. But then the guys that are going down the field a little bit more, Ray McLeod, he was 3 out of 5 for him with all these numbers updating. So got a nice little thing you can do there just to see how quarterbacks do when targeting a specific player. Another thing you can do is you can look at the yard line. So 0 through 20 is going to be the red zone. So if you want to see how quarterbacks did in the red zone, you just drop that down to the 20-yard line, and that'll update all the stats. Josh Allen threw 12 passes in the red zone, 6 for 12. You're going to see, ADOTs drop a lot here. ADOT is average depth of target, so how far they're throwing the ball down the field before it reached their targeted receiver. Obviously you're not going to have a high ADOT when you're in the red zone because there's only 20 yards there to possibly even do it, and then you can move in. Like who was attempting passes from the 1-yard line last week? It's something you can do. Wilson, Murray, Allen, Burrow all threw one. Murray and Burrow threw 1-yard touchdowns. So there you go. Quarterback per game, same thing, but it divides it by the total number of games. So once the guys have bye weeks or once guys get hurt, you can compare them if they have different. Easily compare them. If you want to know, if Lamar Jackson gets hurt in week 7 and misses 4 weeks, then he's going to be way behind on this tab, but you want to see how he's actually doing. You can do the per game stuff and compare it that way. Rush receiving data, this is the same kind of idea, same kind of thing, but for running backs and wide receivers, you got touches, rush attempts, rush yards, yards per rush touchdowns, targets, receptions, yards, catch rate, air yards, ADOT, yards per target. All again, very much filterable based on the game situation. So let's look at that again here in the red zone. One good thing to do is kind of see who's getting targeted in close to the end zone. Hard to do after one game. Again, that's true for all of this, but you can go see all right, which wide receivers are really getting work inside the red zone. Demario Douglas, you can see, led it with 2 targets inside the 5, but maybe you want to spread it out to 20. Keon Coleman got 4 looks in the red zone. Marquise Brown got 3, et cetera, et cetera. So let's kill that one. Score differential. This is a good way just to adjust for blowouts. Obviously, if a team's leading 40-0, things are going to be way different. The backups will come in and stuff. So if you want to just see after a few weeks are done, okay, like let's keep this under control here. Let's see how these guys are doing when the game's within 2 touchdowns, right? Like, let's take the blowouts out of the picture entirely. So you can do the score differential from -14 to 14, and that updates the numbers just for those closer game situations. Or if you want to do, what do they do in blowouts? If you think they're playing a team that they're going to blow out this week, then you maybe want to see what backups will do. And you see DJ Giddens came in there for I guess that would have been the Colts. They were one of the few teams that was actually up by this much. So, yeah, just a good way to see kind of who the backups are, whatever. You can do a lot of creative things with that. Win probability, another way to do that. This would be pretty much the same as score differential. It's just like if you want to put this at 90% or more. So this is what happens when the team is sitting in a place where they have a 90% or greater chance to win the game. So for now, since it's week 1, you'll only see players here that were on teams that won the game, because those are the only teams that would have played a snap with a 90% winning probability in all likelihood. So you can kind of see that just helps you control for certain game environments and whatnot. Yards to go, when the team's really behind the sticks, who are they going to? What are they looking to do? That kind of stuff. So Trevion Henderson got 3 targets when it was at least 15 yards to go. That meaning first and 15 or greater, second and 15 or greater, third and 15 or greater, et cetera, et cetera. Another cool thing to do here, you can see who pick the quarterbacks. So say maybe one team has had a couple different quarterbacks playing, and later in the year, later in the year they make a quarterback switch and they switch back to their original guy or something, and you just want to see like, okay, well, Rodgers played the first few games of the year, and then someone else took over, and now he's back. Say it's week 15, and Rodgers returns. I want to figure out who did he like throwing the ball to. Like let's get rid of the numbers when that other guy was at quarterback because it's just not the same. So let's pick the quarterback and filter to just him, and that's one thing you can do. For now, I don't think that's any use because I'm not sure if any team had to play 2 different quarterbacks. Zach Wilson got in the game at some point, I guess, for the Dolphins. That's interesting. So, maybe next week if you're looking at the Dolphins trying to figure out what they're doing, maybe filter that to Tua and get rid of those few snaps with Zach Wilson because that's not the Zach Wilson stuff last week isn't going to tell you a whole lot about what's going to happen this next week because it won't be him at quarterback, and that makes a big difference. Also filter to air yards. Okay, well when the ball's being thrown 20 yards downfield or more, who's pulling them in? Who's got the highest catch rate on a ball thrown that far down the field? If you want to also maybe filter that to, let me see who got at least two balls thrown to them 20 yards or more down the field, and then who caught the balls. Tucker was 1 for 2 with the long touchdown. Also, all of this stuff again to repeat myself once more, way more useful after there's several games under the season's belt here. Same thing here, rush receiving per game, just same kind of business but per game. Snaps and routes. Here's another pretty big one that we use. This has the routes data. New this year, we got slot routes, so you can see kind of, maybe this is more familiar or more interesting at the individual team level. We're looking at the Packers, say, okay, well, how are they running things out? I mean, they spread the ball out like crazy yesterday, as expected, but you can kind of see, all right, who's running the routes? Their tight end led them in routes, but 5 guys had more than double digits. Who's running in the slot? Maybe that's more valuable to you. Jaden Reed ran 9 routes in the slot, targets per route, target per snap, et cetera, et cetera. I will be adding on to this as I get more data and explore different possibilities. This stuff will all improve and get better, but this tutorial should give you a really nice idea of what you can get from it. So that's snaps and routes. Snap percent is in there. So, most interesting probably would be for snap rate. That's kind of the running backs. You ideally want a fantasy running back that's on the field a ton. You can see that Tony Pollard, Ashton Genty, Josh Jacobs all above 85% there. Meaning that Tony Pollard played 89% of the team snaps, which is a huge number for a running back, by the way. So that's most interesting for running backs. Obviously, the quarterbacks are going to be out there pretty close to 100%, unless there was a situation where they had to get benched for an injury or for a blowout or whatever. But there's that. Stats by week, just a quick, this one's ugly and not super useful, but this will give you the trend data. As we get more weeks here, this table will expand rightward, and you can see the trends there. A.J. Brown, you'll see his target progression and whatnot. Game logs, this just brings you a lot of stuff. Aaron Jones hasn't played yet, so that's why you don't see anything here, but we'll pick Kamara. Not as useful this time, but as the season goes on, you'll see his fantasy point total turn into a nice bar chart here, and then you'll see the games populate here. All the stuff that we care the most about here, I think, in the game log, that's that. And then some plots and stuff. I don't think I'll go through the rest of these. There's a couple other, let's see. Share data is interesting. This will give you the share of the targets. This one, you got to pick a team first for it to be useful. So pick a team. You see London's 15 targets. Okay, that was 37% of the total. Maybe sometimes you get 7 targets for somebody, and that doesn't look like a lot, but it actually is a ton because the team only had 16 or something, so the share is good to know, like what percent of them are they getting. Air yards share, rush attempts share. You want a high mark here for a running back, so let's see who had the highest percent of their team's rushing attempts. Okay, something's wrong there. I will fix that. Obviously, doesn't make any rush attempt share at 2% doesn't make a lot of sense, but we'll get that fixed. Touchdowns and touchdown share as well. Some plots here: snap rate versus target per route, kind of a good gauge of usage there. Some touches, targets, and touch progression. This will just have a line for each player on their targets and touches as the year goes on by week. Doesn't look useful now because we only have 1 week. And then just other plots, air yards and receiving yards. This is a good one. Who's getting a lot of air yards and where do they line up on the expected reception yards and stuff like that. But yeah, I'll let you go ahead and click through that. Here's a good one if you're just more of a fan of the NFL game rather than fantasy. Offensive yards plots. So Baltimore dominated 8.2 or 3 on the ground and 11 through the air. And then the bad offenses are going to be down here with low yards per rush. This gives you an idea of which offenses are good passing and rushing, or both, or neither, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, I will continue to add on to this, and it's just a super good resource. I'm in it all day when I'm writing stuff or looking at fantasy stuff, and that's available for paid subscribers at Follow the Money Fantasy Football, ftmff.substack.com, or just hit the link in my Twitter bio. Let me know if you have questions or if you have any ideas of what to add on to this, but it'll be a good tool, and we'll make it better and better as the season goes on. Peace out.